Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 6 March 2017 and tonight's video kind of gets me excited. It really does. It's kind of about a journey. A journey that is, let's just say reaching its destination. Over the years, as I've become increasingly more involved in the knife world and started a sharpening business 3 or 4 years ago. Like many of us in the hobby who sort of start to get our hands dirty, I've toyed with, fantasized about, considered, contemplated becoming a knife maker. And as of today, I'm not sure that that's going to be me. At least not in a meaningful way, a primary way. I guess I've come to know my limitations, I guess. I'm 51 years old. I'm not a master machinist. I don't know that I have the time to develop my skills to where I would like to see them be in order to make knives that I would want to buy. So my attention, as you might have gleaned over the last year or so, has really shifted to design and finding great manufacturers to collaborate with. So you guys are mostly, I would imagine, aware of my Great Eastern Cutlery number 74 Heartland clip that came out just after the first of the year. I'm sure that won't be my last work with GEC, but I've really wanted to do a fixed blade, as you guys know. And you remember in late January I did a video of this knife. This is one I made at the Island of Misfit Toys, Uncle Jesse's Knives. Jesse Hemphill and I whipped this baby out in one evening together. I drew it, did some shaping on the handle. Jesse did most of the hard work, the heavy lifting, so to speak. This is sort of the first real manifestation of a progression that will lead to my first fixed blade design. And there's a couple ingredients here. A beautiful clip point blade with a proportionally beautiful swedge, a Loveless style handle, and I kind of have to admit the thickness or the width of the guard kind of threw me on my handle design. It ends up being bigger than it needs to be. I just didn't account for that as I drew it, even after cutting it down some. So it's a little out of kilter proportionally, but I was after a compact Bowie knife that could be carried on someone's side. Anybody who's able to carry a fixed blade could carry it. It's lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of space, doesn't get hung up on stuff. If you wanted to carry a real knife, fixed blade, not a tiny little thing like a PSK or even like a Little Creek, the real knife. I wanted to make a Bowie knife that could be really used for anything you might run into during your day, from opening packages to processing wood to food prep, the knife that you could hunt if you wanted to, do some light bushcraft, but it has to be a Bowie knife. I still believe the Bowie knife or the clip point blade on, really in knives anywhere from this size up, the most versatile blade style that does the most things well of any blade style I know of, and they're just beautiful. No small thing. So this was my first real step toward my everyday Bowie, as I have been calling it. The size inspiration comes from this knife. Now this is the first Bark River knife I ever purchased. This is the Bark River Gunny Hunter in A2 with the antique ivory micarta handle. So why did I buy this knife? Well, I was after, my first Bark River needed to be a knife I could use a lot, okay, for a variety of tasks. It was just a great size to me. 3 7/8 inch blade, 5/32 stock thickness. Now this is the Hunter model of the Gunny, so the grind begins a little lower on the Gunny Hunter than it does on the standard Gunny. Looking back, maybe a regular Gunny would have been more to my liking, but the thing that, other than the size, the thing that really drew me to this knife was this Bob Loveless style handle. That signature Coke bottle shape, square cornered enough that it never wants to turn in your hand, but round enough to be comfortable. Plenty of real estate on the handle for just about any grip, saber grip, overhand pinch grip, hammer grip, and if you needed to press it into defensive service, the reverse grip pretty good. Just a great knife. But you know, this is sort of a drop point. I'm not a drop point guy. If I were going to make a knife, it had to be a Bowie. And if I were going to make a small-ish, let's say, not tiny, but a compact Bowie knife, it needed to have this handle. Absolutely the best handle in a knife this size I've ever held in my hand. Okay? Just love this handle. So, with that as inspiration, and this is my first crack at it, after the end of January, I came home and started sketching. And those of you who follow me on Instagram have seen this drawing. This is a knife designed by yours truly of the Apostle P Knife Service. The working title of this knife, or the working name of this knife, has always been the Everyday Bowie, because I'm not stupid enough to ignore Mike Stewart. The new working title of this knife is the Gunny Sidekick. Because we're using this handle and we're making a knife that's almost the same size, just 1/8 of an inch longer in blade length, Mike told me that I would be leaving money on the table if I did not keep the name Gunny in the name of the knife. And I'm grateful to Mike for being so persistent about that, let alone just offering it in the first place. Gunny's his name, and of course I do credit him on the handle design. Blade material on this knife, I'm still torn, and that's one of the reasons I'm making this video. My initial thought, my gut reaction to what steel was CPM M4. You guys know that I love CPM M4. That is the crucible powdered metal technology version of M4 high-speed tool steel. The Gale Bradley series of knives are in M4. Several Benchmades are in M4. The big 810 Contago, the Bark River Essential, a couple other Bark River models. It is not an easy steel to work with. It's not easy to grind. It's not easy to sharpen. And it's not extremely corrosion resistant. Let me get my little steel app out here. Okay, so CPM M4, as you guys can see, is a very high carbon tool steel. Almost 1.5% of carbon. Only about 4% of chromium. A ton of molybdenum, almost about 5.25%. A little bit of phosphorus, a little bit of sulfur, a little bit of silicon, a ton of tungsten, and a significant amount of vanadium. So what you get with CPM M4 is a steel that will achieve an extremely high hardness with a fine enough grain structure to take a super keen edge and a super high polish. It's extremely heat resistant. That's, a high speed tool steel means you can use it as a cutting tool, as hardened and tempered, and you can get it screaming hot, almost glowing red before it loses hardness in a secondary temper. Does that mean anything in a knife? Heck no. In a cutting tool, like a rotary cutting tool, you're going to run the stuff up around 65 or 66 Rockwell. And even after you get it smoking hot, it might only come back to 62 or 3 and still be effective. In a knife application, the beauty of M4 is that you can run it down in this 62 to 64 range, and it picks up an amazing amount of toughness that it doesn't necessarily have up around 65 or 66. So super edge holding, super fine edge, and more than adequately tough, not brittle at this robust hardness. The one knock on CPM M4 is that it will pit and spot, not necessarily orange rust, but it will pit and spot. You got to take care of it. The other steel that I've been considering is 3V, CPM 3V. An anomaly of a tool steel. CPM technology again, only about 0.8% of carbon. Still able to run up around 61, 63 with amazing toughness and a great wear resistance for the toughness. Of these two steels, CPM M4 will be a little more wear resistant, still good toughness. 3V, still really good wear resistant and amazing toughness with better corrosion protection than M4. I want you guys in the comments, those of you who are, fixed blade guys, super steel guys, weigh in the comments. What steel would you like this gorgeous 4-inch bladed gunny sidekick to be made out of? So let's keep going, shall we? Let's take a look at the particulars of the knife. The gunny handle is nothing new. It is so awesome, it doesn't need to be new. So the handle length, 4.656 inches, so that is 5/8 plus a 32nds, 4 and 21 32nds inches long. How are you Europeans doing? You okay? You still with me? No millimeters. These dimensions are kind of unimportant. They're tangential. Then we've got a blade that's exactly 4 inches long with a 3 9/16 inch cutting edge. The height of the blade is 1 inch and 3/32, 1.093. The gunny blade is 29/32. So the sidekick will be a full 3/16 of an inch taller in blade height than the gunny. Same thickness, 156 is the stock thickness, but it's 3/16 of an inch taller, and then the grind will be another 1/16 higher. The convex grind on the gunny hunter starts a 1/4 inch from the spine. This will be 3/16 from the spine, so the grind height will be 29/32, basically as tall as the entire blade on the gunny hunter. So even at that 5/32 stock thickness, we've got a very tall convex grind that's going to be, you guessed it, an amazing slicer. Still with enough full thickness of spine and robust enough spine thickness that this will be a knife that you can baton with. Too short for a chopper, of course. And if you come down here to this view, notice even with the swedge, we're going to retain some spine thickness all the way out to the tip, so you won't destroy your bat if you would baton kindling with this or something. How about the proportions of that blade? Guys, you have no idea how many times I drew and redrew this blade. Notice the clip, almost half the length of the blade. So the blade's totally 4 inches long. The clip is 1.947. Pretty much half of the plunge ground area. Good sweep. So it makes that rather tall blade for 4 inches total length not seem stubby. And then a nice swedge that will take up more room vertically than it will horizontally. Just beautiful proportions. Straight out to this point. So the straight portion of the cutting edge is almost exactly as long as the clip, or the unclipped portion of the blade. So full height, 2 inches out. And then we have this beautiful sweeping belly. Come to a point that is just slightly above the axis of the knife. So it's still going to be pretty much straight ahead, but I raised it just slightly from center line to make take as much advantage of the belly as I could. If there's one area that the clip point blade isn't the best, it would be in the drilling function of bushcraft. You kind of need the spine as you're drilling to force the cutting edge into the work. When you have the clip point, there's really not much of that going on. So we sacrifice that with the clip point blade. We know that. But the rest of it is so good we don't care. Still plenty of skinability. Another reason that the point is slightly above center line. Definitely could hunt this knife. No problem at all. Now let's look at my favorite part of the design. Well, not really. The overall blade shape's my favorite part. This area right here. What is it? Well, it's a sharpening choil. And this knife is scaled 1:1. And you can see clearly, I think, that sharpening choil is much more generous than the one in the Gunny Hunter. 3/32 radius, and then spreading significantly. So we're going to come right, this plunge is going to finish about here. So we're going to be able to have plenty of room, more than 1/8 of an inch of fully plunged primary bevel. So we'll be able to hang our sandpaper, whatever sharpening media we're using, back over the heel of the knife, so we'll end up with no recurve back there. Okay, that is the Sharpener's Choice Sharpening Choil right there, my friends. Just take a look. Ain't she party? Oh, and it's going to be so good in the hand. So good in the hand. Oh. So, the schedule for this thing. That's kind of hard to tell. By the way, as you're giving me input on steel, consider this. Bark River has lots of 5/32 3V in stock. They have no M4 in stock. Just keep that in mind. I would love to see these knives in the retailer's hands before hunting season next fall. We're going to prototype this thing in 2.5 weeks, a week and a half, I guess. The grind-in at Bark River is the 17th, 18th, and 19th of March, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we're going to prototype this knife in 3V at the grind-in. And I'm going to try to take as much footage as I can. I think Mike's going to have me a blank, water-jetted, hardened, and ready to go bevel ground. And then we're going to hand it off to our buddy Skittles. And we'll make one up. And that's going to be the only one for a while. And depending on the material we decide to use in their production schedule, sometime this year we hope, we should have knives. I believe we're going to make 150 of them. They are going to be a Knives Ship Free exclusive. So Derek Bone, a good friend of mine, you guys know, proprietor of Knives Ship Free, has agreed to burn one of his 2017 exclusives for Bark River on my design. So big shout out and a big thanks to you, Derek. I really, really appreciate it. We're going to make 150 of them in a variety of handle materials. And Mike Stewart at Bark River is the master of the handles. He gets to pick. I just gave one piece of input. There's 3 materials I got to have. They are black canvas micarta in honor of Mike, green canvas micarta in honor of me, and desert ironwood. I imagine there will be some burls and some regular plain desert ironwood in there. And the rest of them will be filled in with whatever Mike wants to put on them, okay? Pricing will be normal Bark River. Obviously, if they're in 3V, they'll be a little less expensive than they will be in M4. Just because that's how that works. M4 steel is more expensive as a raw material. It's more expensive to heat treat, and it's really more expensive to make into a knife after that. Not fun stuff. There is a reason that my initial gut said go M4, because you guys know I love it. It is the most rewarding steel that I sharpen. It is so difficult. It takes so much concentration, so much work. But man, when you do your job, it does its job. Oh my Lord. Does it take an edge and does it hang on to it? Love that stuff. So that's that. Stay tuned. I hope here in 2 or 3 weeks you're going to see another video with a real prototype Bark River Gunny Sidekick Bowie knife. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. So stay tuned, and we'll see if we can't come up with something beautiful for you guys. That's all for this one. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Derek. Can't wait to get to work. Good night.